All right, this is a continuation of what it means to be Avatar in a 3D matrix on Earth in this present day and age. So I'm gonna mix together a lot of stories like I usually do. And this one is about the Avatar's descent into chaos. Oh, what a crazy word, chaos. When you're in it, it's no joke. Just rolled way into the park, hitting these stones here. And chaos, oh man, the root word, check that out. You know, at its essence it means void, it means emptiness. And that's a really good way to describe the feeling that one gets when you're deep into chaos. Probably talked about this in a bunch of videos before, but I'm gonna just do a recap. What the SolStar teaches us is that there is layers of our awareness that we must unlock, like a padlock. You know, you gotta get it right one way and the other way. You know how hard it is to get it the first time, right? Once you get it, you get it. And so, same kind of deal. When you descend from the 5th dimension and you come into chaos, the 3rd dimension, you gotta pass through the 4th dimension. The 4th dimension is the biomagnetic field. It's got 2 parts to it. The part that splits, divides into 2, the female, the Eve, the atom, the one magnetic field that brings things together. So when you're in chaos, you have passed through oneness, emotional oneness, acceptance of others, yourself as one. There's no division. The mind has not divided that up yet within your energy field. The magnetic field, the lower magnetic field, the Eve, the female counterpart to the male electric force. The male electric force is the thoughts. And it itself is created into 2, or separated into 2 forms, the male and the female. So when we descend into chaos, we go from unity consciousness, which feels amazing. There's no doubt that we are connected to everyone else. There's no doubt that we feel the earth, we feel the vibrancy of life, we feel spirit, we feel Gaia, we feel Mother Earth, Father Sky, all that good stuff. There's no doubt, there's nothing in the way. What gets in the way? The lower 4th dimension, the trauma, separation, the pain, 7 deadly sins, all those emotional centers that we have within our consciousness, within our magnetic field. These emotional centers can be turned inwards to become a void of their own. Black hole that leads to nothing, leads to the void, leads to chaos. And the mind is what's responsible for that. So it's not until we fully actualize into the physical form that we experience the void that trauma creates. And this void is nasty. Nasty, nasty. Think of the void as 7 chakras that have turned evil, lost their connection to the light, the source, to the 5th dimension, to oneness, to the knowing. So if that is gone, where did it go? Well, free will allows you to choose from love and not like love. And our bodies are conditioned to always pick not like love. So when we fall into patterns that our bodies naturally give us, without knowing how to correct those patterns, without knowing how to recognize those patterns, we end up falling into unconsciousness. This unconsciousness is the matrix, or leads us to the matrix. What is the matrix? Matrix is the reality that you make up in your own mind, separate from what's really happening. That's your free will. You can decide that for eternity. But no one will. You run out of gas. Because we all run off of light. Consciousness is light. Light connects. Light is the oneness of knowing your connection to everything. Not even thinking it, you just know it. And so, what happens is, as we fall into chaos as avatars, our minds get confused, our hearts get betrayed, we fall into separation of our energy fields. We can't align what is love anymore with our emotions, with our willpower. And we're left to make choices that seem to be between bad and worse. And that's tough. It's really tough. As you descend into chaos, know this. If you don't know this already, you should really think long and hard about it. We all come from love first and foremost. What is love? Love is connection. Love is awareness. Love is light. Light is the connection to things that make you grow in the most beautiful way, alongside everyone else. Light is so intelligent, it doesn't get in the way of more light, because in the essence of light is oneness. So from oneness it branches into multipleness, fruitfulness, but it's still that oneness. The nature of light is to be fruitful and multiply. Our human brain is meant to predict, calculate outcomes based on past experience and previous state of awareness. It is really, really difficult to change the trajectory of your life, because your awareness, your short-term awareness and your long-term awareness both rely on memories of the past. You make a drastic change to your world. What happens is you create trauma, disconnection from your past. So the human body is riddled with trauma ever since you're born, long before you're born. As an avatar, you're born into a body that should give you reliable sense information. It should tell you everything that's around you, down to the condition of the molecules. Our bodies should have full awareness of the first, second, and third dimension. The third dimension is a focal point. It's your ego self. It's what makes you you, separate from everyone else. You know, what is it? It's a tree there, right? It's separate from all other things in its tree shape. So its ego, how you identify itself, as a tree. You look at the magnetic field of the tree, if you could, and we know that magnets connect. So where does the tree that's there end from another tree or another object who has a magnetic field that it shares its magnetic field with? You only see that in the physical. That physical is separation. So that's what we're experiencing with our eyes and ears and the skin. The body is created to do that. And it should know the second dimensional reality, which is elements. Fire element, earth element, water element. Not only to identify hot, cold, wind, all that kind of stuff, but there's something in it as well. There's a level of intelligence that's inside the elements. That level of intelligence is what our organs run off of. So our liver has its own form of intelligence. Our heart has its own form of intelligence. it thinks a certain way. Think of it as like a company, and many people are in the company and they have their own specific role. That's like what the 5 elements are. And we're supposed to have awareness of this. We're supposed to be able to recognize patterns between events that go by in our human existence. But that's skewed, it's heavily skewed. And then there is the first dimension, which is the oneness factor in the physical. So the quantum particles, quantum elements, protons, neutrons, electrons, energy, gravity, those sensations are powerful. When you fall in love, it can feel like gravity. It can feel like everything's coming together. Everything's growing. Everything is light. Everything's amazing. Everything makes sense. You know, that's what the particles are experiencing, quantum particles. So we're supposed to have awareness of this, and if we did, we wouldn't have trauma in our body, because we would know the history of everything, including the particles. So higher dimensional beings, like the avatars, they are used to this knowledge. They rely on this knowledge. They lean on it with their hearts, their minds, their souls, and they decide to jump without a parachute, or so it seems. It's not until we hit the earth full speed that we realize there's no parachute. There never was, and there won't be. And we're not going to die either. So once we fall deep into trauma, as avatars, part of us is still aware of many facets of the trauma. And so what happens is we end up having awareness of how messed up our reality is, how disconnected everything, how horrible and chaotic everything is, how deep the matrix goes, and all that stuff. All the worldly affairs, you know, we can get so caught up in it because we know that we got to put it together. We got to sort it all together to gain our level of intelligence that we're used to having before incarnation. But when you sort things, you have to go back through the dimensions again. And what's interesting about trauma is it's stored in the subconscious mind. Subconscious mind is always observing it, analyzing it. Well, observing and analyzing your ego self. You always have a guardian angel watching your back. Right? And that's you, it's your higher self. And so, this part of you is watching you. You can talk to it if you know how to speak to it. It doesn't speak fear. It doesn't speak the lower fourth dimensional energies. That's what the demons speak. There's a separation between the angels and the demons. The voices that bring you life and the voices that bring you death. There's a language there. So as we fall into this to chaos as avatars, our subconscious mind has picked up breadcrumbs along the way. And we can find our way out. Not only can we find our way out, it's our only way out. Consciously. It's the only way out if you want to bring your ego out. So part of the role of an avatar is to find enlightenment within themselves, within their ego selves, within the body they chose. Making peace with your gender, making peace with your skills, your flaws. Most importantly, it's a tough one, making peace with your physical body's history, including ancestry. As we ascend our awareness and our consciousness in the physical, We gotta pass through the chaos, through the disassociated thoughts, and start to put them together into categories. So learning metaphysics with the intent of using it for enlightenment is a different experience than just learning alchemy or numerology or astrology. Those systems had a purpose and they were decoded for a purpose at that time. The wisdom behind it, the functions that you can get from astrology and numerology and I Ching and all these other systems, these functions are like pieces of Lego for your soul. You can use it to do kind of whatever you want because it's the understanding of the fourth dimension, lower and higher fourth dimension. So using that knowledge to ascend yourself is like step one. And what's step two? Well, I'm using metaphysics right now to describe the steps. Let's see if you agree or disagree. The first primal wound we all experience is separation from source, us from God. Second wound is us from others, self from others. So those are the two primal wounds we have to stitch together in order to get to God consciousness consciously, with your own awareness, with your human brain's awareness. This calculator is very limited in your brain, but it can figure this out. It's designed to figure this out, but it's designed to figure it out in a linear fashion. Trying to bring it all together from different angles all at once is really difficult, but it can be done. But the mind has to observe the heart putting things together, because the heart is the multidimensional processor. It can process many images and thoughts all at once. But if you want to speak it and you want to articulate it in the physical, you got to manifest it in the physical through your brain. And your brain is storing your physical human's experience. So if your physical human can't type or can't say certain words, it's not going to say them. So it's going to create long explanations around words that could be very simply spoken. That's the dilemma. So metaphysics is a very good way to stitch all these realities together, because they're tried and true. They're already part of human history. They're part of our language. And they're like containers that are full of old wine needing to be filled with new wine. Right? So to speak. So if you know that reference, you know that. Also, you need to make a new wineskin, new container to hold new wine. Right? Well, we're going to use the old words and reimagine them, re-understand them. So that's kind of the same thing. So, first wound is us from Creator. How do we separate ourselves from Creator? We have to forget our essential nature. How do we forget? Well, forget is a part of your memory. Memory flows through time. So time has to be created. And time is a series of different states of being. So we once had a state of being of total oneness. We move away from that to a state of being of total separation, which is a form of oneness without consciousness. And that is our birthplace as an ego self. We're born as darkness. But darkness is created so light can fill it. This is something we all have to come to terms with. We are co-creators, so we create darkness and we create light. And we do that in the physical. We can only do it in the physical, because only in the physical can you create darkness. And spirit, darkness, light are one. They're understood. So to create separate selves, you need a condition where darkness can exist. Darkness is unconsciousness. And it's like pretty much everything that love isn't. So, as an avatar, step one, we gotta train our brain, our ego self, to understand that we first must make peace with ourself, with the God within us, and the fact that we are creator gods being born. So we're very limited. The mind is very limited. The soul is not. The soul can only be contained in the physical if it has the proper vessel, proper containment in the physical. So we got to create these structures within our mind, these thought forms that can hold the equivalent of the spiritual essence we're trying to bring forth into the physical. So hence the training of the mind. But how you train your mind, that is so important. The intentions you have when you train your mind. That is the most important thing. Intentions are the fifth dimension. Intentions hold the seed of life, meaning if your intention is for personal gain, you will gain more of self, and more of self creates more chaos. You will separate yourself from others. If your intention is unity, that's a big task. It's a heavy, heavy burden. Because unity means first light up yourself, and then you light up others. So, connecting to the Creator, the life force energy within you, is done with the mind. It's unraveled with the mind, more precisely, because the mind is a thing that's like a hall of mirrors, like a kaleidoscope, and it separates spirit, distorts it all through time and through space. So, when we learn about anti-time and anti-space and how those principles exist, and they do manifest in the physical actually, but they're emotional. And so everything has an emotional field, everything has a fourth dimensional field. It has to, because it's getting its life from the fifth dimension, and the fourth dimension is the conduit, it's the vessel. So we have to learn to master our thoughts, our emotions, our intentions. But when we train the mind, the most important thing is the intentions. The intentions are based on spiritual logic. So when we get all these creation stories from different cultures and different religions, the creation stories are setting up the intentional blueprint, the seed that's going to multiply within your heart, within your mind. But we have such limited human awareness now that we can't even load up the blueprint, like the creation story of Greek myths or the Vedas or the Bible. We can't even load up that within our mind and see that structure long enough to then fill in the feelings that are associated with it, then to fill in the our own experiences over top of that, and then see how our own experiences are painting a much bigger, more coherent picture, the picture of creation. And the point of all that is to connect you back to a creative source within your ego mind, so you can actually imagine that you can create a reality. And all that, if mastered, or if we can get some of it right, at least even the basic level, then you can actually take that model and use it to do the light work, connecting yourself back to source consciousness, doing it consciously. There's a bunch of rounds here. It's like 25 minutes. Feels good. So, yeah. So it's important to pay attention to the creation story with in Christian stories, with the intention that it's the blueprint for how you can reconnect yourself back to source. And I just gave a lot of shortcuts, like the primal wounds, right? So those ones, oh man, when you open up those wounds, or those 7 chakras that hold those, voids, those centers of hell, you can call them. Dante's Inferno kind of goes into that stuff. Has the 7 deadly sins, all that. They're all based on your emotions going in the wrong direction. And those things, they all, you can imagine that in the 4th dimension, everything's one, right? We're talking about unity consciousness in the 4th dimension. What happens is, imagine in the 4th dimension, there's like 9 barrels. And inside those barrels are swirling little galaxy. 2 of them are white and black. That's awareness and unconsciousness. Put those off to the side for now. Let's talk about the other 7 barrels that each have their own chakra. And all of human history is stored in each one of those barrels. All 9. But the 7 deadly sins are, what happens when love is disconnected from source. It turns into lust, right? And the deeper we fall into lust, or love, consequently, doesn't matter. The deeper we go into the roots of our mind, right? The deeper we go into this part of our heart that just opens up and we just feel alive. Well, that part of us that's opening up is opening up to the collective consciousness, meaning that we're opening up to the experiences of all other humans that existed before us. We can be in love and all of a sudden hear a song in our head, or feel a certain way, or get an idea, and who's to say that's coming directly from your own brain? Who's to say it doesn't come from the ancient past? Someone was in love, had these beautiful thoughts, and now you are in the same position, mentally, emotionally, intentionally, and you tap into that, and you become like a conduit for those memories. Right? Well, that happens. Also happens in the negative. And there's some massive traumas in human history that our religions talk about, and they're really nasty. We don't always want to talk about them. Why? Because we open up hell within people when we start getting into the details. It somehow takes us back to that place, and that's exactly what it does. And that's why it's hidden. But the light workers who are brave, the avatars who can hold the 5th dimensional light, they can hold their intentions first and foremost, even in the midst of hell and chaos. Those who can do that are the ones who can process ancestral trauma, mass ancestral trauma, meaning it happened to thousands or millions of people. That soul power is so intense. With a few light workers, we can surpass that soul energy level and use it to bring up traumas within us, actually, within our awareness. And we can start to sort it with our ego self and heal it. And when we do that, we have to know what's going to happen. If you don't know what's going to happen, you're not going to unlock those portals, because we're going into a realm of consciousness where only conscious individuals are going to descend and emerge. Coming into earth life is just step 1. It's a practice. So, like I said before, while light workers who are avatars holding the 5th dimensional light are not going to be able to do their work until they come together and they create a much bigger I got like some seeds in my teeth. A much bigger soul energy complex. And it's very possible. That's somewhat what I've been describing is process to it and how it is possible with the human ego. And so, yeah. So SolStar Metaphysics has been designed and distilled the past 10 years of me consciously knowing most of this. And so I bring a lot of systems together, create a lot of definitions that we can all agree upon, because they're definitions created through numerology, and our ancestors actually created them and set them up for this time in human history. So bringing a lot of stuff together for the sake of healing mass trauma. It's okay, go ahead. Thanks, appreciate it. So, why is that? Well, from what I understand, we're about to have a solar flash, an event where the time cycles of astrology are going to line up certain planetary energies, and those planetary energies, think of them as organ energies. They're fourth dimensional energies. So what happens is, as the planets move, they are changing our fourth dimensional energy field within all of our bodies. And when it gets to the right combination, it's going to unlock traumas from the past. And these traumas are huge. And they're going to take out a lot of people. And what they're going to do is they're going to get people to group up and live in this really nasty group mentality. And they're going to be stuck in their own group complexes. Why is it nasty? Well, it's not a pleasurable group consciousness. It's one based on fear and all the lower dimensional energies. So the lower chakra energies, greed, lust, power, ego, all that stuff. And it's going to be hard to distinguish them from others, but you'll feel them. You'll know them by their actions. No matter how nice they sound, no matter how big of a story they create, you'll feel it. You'll know. So it's important to get your body cleared up, health levels up. Small things every day are the most important thing, because those things will build up much more potential in the future. So, that's a long one. Be all there. That's it.